Remember when I said in my last video that Shiki and the others will give Witch a funeral? Well, here it is in this chapter. Hello there YouTubers and subscribers, RoseRed17 here, and here is Eden Zero Volume 20, Chapters 168 through 176. And here, let us start us with this. The crew lights a fire into these lamps, having them float up into the sky, and there Shiki says the words that Witch will never be forgotten. And this is where the chapter ends, with Shiki's expression and smiles of his mother. Of course, I wanted to go straight to this in the chapter because the rest of it is about Justice talking to a member of the OSI named Holly and discover there are 3 more members that are introduced. Not only that, but earlier Justice had discovered that Creed was killed and believed that Hamura was the one that did it, because this guy Jesse is a spineless coward and puts the blame on her. Justice believes Jesse's lies and willing to take revenge on Hamura for Creed's death. And speaking of Hamura, here she is on Planet Sandra, sitting on the beach along with Shiki, Jin, Clean, and Goodwin. Goodwin noticed that Rebecca isn't with them, as stated by Hamura that she isn't in the best health, and that she is resting in the Eden Zero ship after using the Cat Leaper for the past 2 days. Goodwin talking about the set-off of those who died in battle, and here is the panels of the light lamps coming into view. Some time seems has passed as we see Shiki taking off his bandage as he tests out his new cybernetic eye that Sister installed, as it functions like a normal eye with some minor adjustments. Later, Weiss and Laguna are having a conversation in the bathhouse, which is a rare scene if you think about it, mostly because whenever there's a bath scene, there's usually the women, and seeing naked men would be a good viewing for the female audience. Anyway, Laguna talks about his past life of being an actor and that he had a friend that was later killed when the Empire invaded their home, and he is now telling Weiss about joining their crew as he was admired by them. Then later, Shiki starts making an announcement on the intercom and makes a speech about their primary goal of finding Mother, and while saying within the speech, Shiki had memories of when Ziki raised him. Within that memory, young Shiki cut himself and the Ziki from the past put a bandage on his cheek, and then there in the panel where Shiki takes off the bandage and showing his scar, telling everyone that they must deal with Ziki first before finding Mother. With that said, everybody was moved by Shiki's words, as it cuts to the narrator Xiao Mei as she discussed the outcome of the events, and that later revealed a 3-year time skip. And when I saw this panel, you bet I was excited to see what the characters look like in the next chapter. And I will have to say, it did not disappoint. My man Shiki is looking fine in this panel, even though I have seen the older Shiki before, but I'm still excited to see his character design in this chapter. As for the rest of the crew, they look pretty good too. First we see Herman with a new outfit and hairstyle, then there is Rebecca, who looks a little different than what I've seen before in one of the previous chapters. Last we see Weiss and Hamura, which in opinion, Hamura doesn't look any different than what she looked like before. Even Pino looks more different than her, and as for Weiss, he looks okay. Now that I have introduced the adults, I will now discuss the reasoning for what they're up to in this chapter. On the planet Swip, their mission is to find the core of the planet and connect them to each other for rebooting the boss on that planet. Later shows the United Army with Justice of the OSI knows that planet Swip has been saved by the EC crew, and he also counted that that was the 17th planet that they saved in the past 3 years. It is also discovered that Shiki has become the member of the OSG, and known as the Demon King Shiki Granbell. The next chapter starts with Rebecca and Happy filming a video and reading the comments from the viewers. And some comments are pretty perverted, much to Rebecca's dislike, can't really blame her, and then ends the video. They finish the video as Couch Pedo came to greet them on their job well done, and then Sister came along and talked about how trashy her videos were before, but then also compliment on her improvement. Meanwhile, Shiki and Herman are having a video chat with Elsie as she mentioned about her being in the cosmos that there are right now. Shiki was surprised and never heard about her homeland, but Elsie wished to tell him the story in another time and then logs off. Then we get to see Jin and Laguna's appearance after the 3-year time skip, as Shiki and the others are trying to locate Ziki, but they couldn't find any clues. Then it cuts to the panel of Clean in the bathhouse along with Rebecca and Hamura. They have a conversation about Shiki becoming a member of the OSG and how much stronger he has become in the last 3 years. Meanwhile, we see Shiki in the throne room looking at Witch's helmet as remembering the first time they met. He vows to protect the ship in honor of hers and Valkyrie's name, as he gets a call from Hermit as she found a castaway and told him that he was human, and then run towards that person. But Rebecca suddenly had a familiar feeling that sets her off, and then also runs to where Shiki and Hermit are, and the castaway turns out to be Captain Connor. Never thought I'd see this guy again. Rebecca came running and told them that he is the enemy and that she remembers him from the world of number 29, and that he is with Zeke. Connor denies that he worked in one of the factories, but later discovered that the factory that he worked at belonged to Zeke. Rebecca kept calling him a liar, but then the others realized that they might have found the clue of Zeke's whereabouts. Shiki and Connor are having a conversation and a meal together as they try to get information from him, and the factory that he worked at is located on planet Lendar. Meanwhile, Rebecca is having a video chat with Noah, the guild master of the Shooting Starlight at Blue Garden. Rebecca explains her situation due to Connor appearing in front of the crew, but no one seems to remember him but her. But before that, she asks them what number world they are right now, and according to Noah, she is in the world of number 416. Rebecca was shocked that she used her power that many times, but Noah also explains that there are 2 types of changes of Rebecca's ether gear. One is the reverse power that she developed earlier, traveling back 90 seconds but doesn't change anything in the timeline. The second type is the Cat Leaper, which not only transport her to the past but into a different world completely, as they name Universe. In other words, the reverse power is world and the Cat Leaper is universe. This just got more interesting. Noah told her that the first universe, Shiki died, the second, Draken was defeated, and now they're in the third universe, which is to Rebecca's surprise as she has no memory of using the Cat Leaper for the 3rd time. But Noah said that it happened 3 years ago before Nero 66 was destroyed, and that she and Mighty used it to escape. But as before, Rebecca doesn't remember using it during that time, which confuses Noah, but he is certain that they are in Universe 3. And if they stayed in Universe 2, they would have all perished. Rebecca thought about it and then later changed the subject to Connor. Well, it turns out that Connor happened to be the person whose history has changed from the 3 different universes, just like how Shiki's fate changed in the first 2 universes. Rebecca realized that this is the same Connor from before and decided to leave him alone, and she talks to Shiki about how he was in Universe 1, and then told him that it's a new name like World Number 30. Meanwhile, Sister contacted Elsie and told her the location of Zeke, and that her and her crew will be joining them. And it cuts to the planet Lendar as it's shown an army of robots, and Zeke with his crew of Dark Stars along with the last panel of Zeke and Shiki. The crew made their way to the planet as they come up with a plan of attack as Hermit did some research, and the planet is guarded by space drones. But then Connor comes in telling them to turn the ship around due to his cowardness. The crew suggests him to leave as they are not comfortable with him around. Shiki thinks they should drop him off at a different planet and leave him there, but then it would be a waste of energy to travel to different cosmos. So in order to do so, they stop at Blue Garden as Rebecca gets chased by her fans, and Weiss remembers Xiaomei and should have asked for her advice on the location of Ziggy. But then Hermit called and told him that the planet she lived on changed its location into a different cosmos. And in the meantime, Laguna asked Connor about his situation and noticed the word Freedom Force on his arm, and also tells a story about having a daughter and that he lost her after she was born. Shiki was touched by the story and oh my god, no matter how much he has grown by appearance, Shiki is still being Shiki. I wouldn't be surprised if he was still afraid of bugs. But also, Connor is sort of a douche, as he explained that his daughter isn't dead, which confuses Shiki and that his wife took her away and left home. Dude, you just told an emotional story about losing your daughter and assuming the crew that she was dead because you said if she was alive. What in the world did you mean by that? Did you yourself figure that she was dead only to change your mind about her possibly being alive and decided to travel the cosmos and search for your wife and daughter? Okay, maybe I'm being too harsh on it. If I continue this, I'll just repeat myself until I run out of breath. So anyways, the crews are inside the guild as Rebecca is being greeted by Clarice and then greeted by Noah. Shiki is not too happy to see him for putting Rebecca in danger, as Pino told they brought Connor. But then there are the conversations going on until Hermit calls with a problem. One of the members of the OSI has come to the planet and turned out to be Feather, as her fleet surrounded the Eden Zero, along with an army of soldiers surrounding the guild, and that Shiki is their target. Shiki plans on luring them away while the others escape, but Rebecca reminds them that they are a crew and they must fight together. But Shiki commands to run for the ship and not kill anyone. On to the next chapter is the fight between Feather's army and the Eden Zero's crew. As you can tell, Feather's army is getting their ass kicked, even though they can predict their next move because of Feather's overdrive with Ether Connect. But the crew seem to outbest them somehow, and while fighting, Noah was talking to Connor about being young and more straightforward. But what seems to surprise Connor is the mention of them being orphans. And as the fight continues on, Pino uses her EMP and Happy uses her blaster solo mode, and then Rebecca comes along using her ether powers. And I finally get to see the overdrive of the Cat Leaper, and it looks so underwhelming. I mean, did I seriously hype myself up for this? And I say this because this was the one overdrive that I have been dying to see. I was curious what the design of Rebecca's overdrive would look like, and probably be amazed by it. After all, I was thrown back by the design of the other characters' overdrives. Each one of them has a unique style with detailed work, and matches well with their characters. And once you see the design of their overdrive, I felt amazed and overwhelmed. However, with Rebecca's overdrive, I gained the feeling of disappointment. Now, it's not the worst outfit I've seen, but it is, like I just said before, underwhelming. But I'm not going to criticize it too much, because believe me, I have seen worse that I have criticized in the past, and I never want to see that
horror clash again.
Even though Rebecca's overdrive outfit looks bland and boring to me, I can understand why they went with this design. Her ether gear is speed and time traveling. Her outfit is similar to what a track runner would wear during a marathon. The jumpsuit represents her speed, and the cat ears and whisker represent her ability of time traveling. So despite looking boring, her overdrive design fits her well and blends together pretty good. Unlike that other outfit that I will forever
criticize and shame until the day I die.
So now that I am done with my thoughts on Rebecca's underwhelming design, time to move on with the rest of the chapter. So the crew defeat the army, managed to get past Feather as Shiki uses his gravity powers to pin her feet to the ground, and him and the crew walked away. But it seems that Feather isn't done yet, as she mentioned that their ship is surrounded by her fleet. Back on the EC ship, Hermit and Sister notice they are surrounded and plans to shoot down a few of her fleet ships in order to escape, but they suggest they still want to make it out without hurting anybody. But then Connor might have a way to escape without doing any harm. Hermit and Sister enter the status report and calculate that there are about 30 ships surrounding the planet, and Connor is willing to help. Weiss, Jin, and Laguna don't trust him because he is the reason they are in that mess. However, Shiki and Rebecca are willing to give him a chance and allow him to pilot the ship. They blast off while being attacked by Feather's fleet, and so Connor raised the shield. But Hermit complains about the source codes. But Connor pulled a fast one and flew past the fleet. But by doing so, he took all 8 ether turbines into the throttle. But with the amount of power into one, it will be difficult to control, according to Hermit. Connor managed to get them out, but at the risk of a suicidal attempt. But Feather managed to catch up as Connor commands to fire, but Shiki refuses. But he really meant the androids outside. They managed to escape from Feather and make their way to the Clouded Cosmos. Despite getting them out of that situation, Weiss and Jin still scolded him. But Rebecca and Shiki seem to be okay with Connor now, and thus the chapter ends with Feather getting contact with another member of the OSI, which is known as Holy. The next chapter starts with Xiaoming giving out the info about what the crew is up to and at the planet Dahlia, relaxing before the battle, and once again, Shiki is still being Shiki. And I'm with Rebecca on this one, I thought he grew out of that too. While everyone else is having fun, Hamura seemed to be in her training mode and run across the lazy river. And Weiss noticed and decided to help her out on her request, but the water pressure got too strong and then she ends up losing her bathing suit. Shiki and Rebecca decided to take pictures together, giving out cool poses and funny looks until the last one, Rebecca surprised Shiki with a kiss on the cheek. Shiki asked her what that was for, and she replied for all the times of helping her. Shiki blushes as he told her that she helped him out as well, and the two marked their beneficial relationship. Okay, I'll take it. Even though I am shipping them now, I believe they're not ready for that type of relationship. While later, they noticed a crowd and was wondering what was going on over there. And it turns out it's Lobelia being recorded and harassed by these men. And it turns out that Lobelia was losing a lot of her viewers. The men wanted to do things to her for their approval, but they end up smashed into the ground by Shiki's gravity, and they are willing to beat him up for what he has done. But Shiki has no obligations to fight them. But the rage expression on his face appeared once the men took a look at Rebecca and wants to play with her. And Rebecca kinda pities for them because she knows what Shiki will do to them. But then a woman shows out and it turns out to be Holy of the OSI. And once those guys heard that name, they made a run for it. Shiki and Rebecca were on guard, but then Holy suggests that they join forces to their surprise. And that is the end of Volume 20 of Eden Zero. And I will say, this one did pique my interest in one way or another. And I will admit it will take me a while to get used to Rebecca's overdrive design because I know I'll see it again. But I'm okay with that. There's really nothing else for me to say about this volume because I already said what I need to say earlier in the video. Well then everyone, thank you so much for watching. And if you are new here, you can subscribe to this channel and you can also hit that notification button for more updates on my newest videos. And don't forget, you can check me out on Twitter, TikTok, and Discord. And I'll see you all in the next video. RoseRed17 out.